We have known that Auburn baseball was going to make the NCAA tournament. We even knew they were going to host, but now we know what seed they are and who else they're going to be playing as a host regional in the NCAA tournament. Let's talk about all those things and our reaction to them starting right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being with us, hanging out with us, spending some time talking about something in the Auburn family experience, whether it is about sports, whether it is about our culture, or whether it's just about the Auburn family in general. We're here to talk about it. If it's orange and blue, it is what we do. We appreciate you being here to be a part of that. Tonight's live stream, a reaction live stream, the second one that we've done tonight. If you missed the breaking news of Auburn basketball getting Janai Broome back, we did a short one of that just before that. Please do go check that out. But for this show, we are talking about our initial reactions to Auburn baseball, finding out officially what the Auburn Regional will look like, where they fall in the pecking order of things, and where we might be heading in all of this. We're actually going to do a full preview show of this where I sit down with a guest and we kind of break down previews and predictions. But this stream is about you and obviously my initial thoughts too. The Auburn family, what you think about all of this. You can see here in the image we have prepared for the show who Auburn will be seeing in this regional. And we want to break that down a little bit a little bit in just a second. But before we do that, if you could help us out, as most of you know the drill, we'd love to get the show started off on a good note by smashing that like button if you enjoy this type of content, if you think we've earned that from you. Also, if you can, use this as your check-in period to post where you're watching from, your city, your state, international. And how about this? What percentage confidence do you think Auburn makes it out of this regional? Go ahead and throw that out there right now. I'd love to know what some people's mindsets are on this type of thing. We might ask that again later, but right now, what are you thinking? Let me know. Get your comments going, and either here on the live chat or else let me know what you guys are thinking. Devin checking in. Your boy Wilson hanging out with us here from Auburn, Alabama. Corey thinks we shouldn't have any problems with this regional. I don't know, Corey. I don't know, sir, but I love the confidence. We should win the regional, but it would be tough. He's got a 90% confidence right there. So I see there's a lot of high hopes and a lot of high expectations for this team coming in to this particular event, this regional in the loveliest village on the plains. As a reminder, I don't have anything listed down below for you guys to kind of see as a constant reminder, but the headphones are on, so that means somebody can call in tonight. I've opened up the phone lines if you all would like to. This can be a short live stream where we just kind of talk about my thoughts, some of your comments, and kind of head home. But if anybody wants to call in tonight, please do so. It's up at the top of the chat right now. If you're watching on the replay, unfortunately, you can't take advantage of that. Would love to hear from any of you that maybe want to talk about this regional, anything that you would like to share about it. And if anybody's planning on coming, it's going to be pretty interesting. Devin, that's what I'm thinking. Southern Miss might be a little bit tough. I think Auburn probably got, in my opinion, one of the tougher regionals to work their way out of, which you would expect, right? Okay, so let's start there. Let me go ahead and pull up the image for everybody so you can see. This comes courtesy of Auburn Tigers athletics accounts, mainly the baseball account. You can find this over there on their social media, but we're using this because it's got a good image there for you to see how this thing is laid out. Auburn, the number 13 seed, will play Penn in the first game in their first matchup, but the second game of the night on first weekend of this tournament. Samford and Southern Miss being the other two teams. They will play each other in the very first game, and so on and so forth in double elimination fashion all the way up till Sunday and even Monday if needed for a additional game to figure everything out. Auburn, Samford, Southern Miss, and Penn are your teams in the Auburn Regional, and we will come back and reference that a few times, I'm sure. But that is the competition. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything about all of these teams. Here's what I do know. Southern Miss, as of late, has been usually an annual power of sorts, at least making appearances in the NCAA tournament, even hosting last year. I remember that was a pretty fun regional, if I'm not mistaken. Samford is one of those smaller in-state schools in Alabama that continuously gives people trouble, even Auburn. In fact, I said on a live stream we did yesterday, I believe, yes, that I did not want to see Samford, and some of the predictions had Samford in the next town over, the next big college town over, Tuscaloosa, in their regional. Thought we would get the Troy matchup, but they flip-flopped it and gave us what I feel is like the tougher matchup, but we shall see. And then Penn. I know nothing of Penn. From some of the commentary I've seen online, it seems like they're a pretty tough squad as well. Here's what you know. This is the best of the best in college baseball. No game should be easy, but Auburn is the top seed, should, even as the number 13 seed, be pretty high expectations to win. But that's why they seed these things out. The lower of the lower seeds of the host teams typically have the higher chance of getting beaten. So you would think that they are going to be playing the competition that would be the toughest in the first round, at least as a whole, when you really break things down and take a look at it. Everyone is complaining that we are hosting and got an easy regional because of John Cohen. Not so. So yeah, I'll address that real quick. There's a lot of discussion, shall we say, on social media. That's putting it nicely. Because our AD, John Cohen, is on the board that selects the committee, I should say, that selects the teams and where they go. He came out today and said that he recused himself. Obviously, you can never tell if that's true completely or not, but he at least has talked about it and addressed it, that he recused himself when it came to putting where Auburn was, and that would be the right thing to do. There are discussions about RPI. Should one team, I think Campbell is the team that a lot of people are like, why did they not get the regional over someone like Auburn? Oh, I can tell you why. They know where they're going to make the money, and it ain't at Campbell. I'm sorry. It's at Auburn. So you can be mad at John Cohen. You can be mad at Auburn, but you should really be mad at is the NCAA for wanting to make a buck. And I don't blame them, because Auburn people show up. The tickets, the first allotment of tickets for this regional sold out within an hour, I think it was, maybe less than an hour. So, folks, if you want to have a regional host, if you're up there in consideration for it, when you get the opportunity, if that ever comes for you, prove that you can sell that place out and you will have no problems being selected over someone like Auburn. Devin, great question. I don't have that graphic up, but we are paired with, as the number 13. So think of it this way. When I was explaining to my wife and my mom today when we were at lunch how this works, it's essentially the same thing as March Madness. However, there's a few differences. You play double elimination in the first round with 4 teams. Then you go play one team for a best of 3 series in the super regionals. Then if you make it to the College World Series, you play double elimination again with 4 teams. And then you'll be down to 2 teams at that point who play a best of 3 series. So it kind of goes back and forth and back and forth, but it's set up the same way. 64 teams, top 16 seeds are the best of the best, and they get to host these games, which is really fun. We, as the 13th seed, would be paired with the 4th seed, which would be Clemson. Tigers versus Tigers. It was Auburn and Clemson softball. Here we are again. Baseball, doing it all over again. Now, the point is, we have to get out of here, out of this tough region, to get to that. And Clemson has to take care of their business too. Theirs is not going to be easy either, I think, with Tennessee in their region. So Auburn, if they can do what is expected in terms of seeding and everything goes chalk, get out of their regional, they still have an opportunity probably to play either at Clemson or at Tennessee's very close area. So either way, it's going to be a fun time for Auburn fans for the next 2 weeks. You thought everything was quieting down with transfer portal being done, some basketball transfer portal news finally wrapping up, school's out, other sports are slowly wrapping up, but no, Auburn baseball said, folks, saddle up. It is going to be fun. Your boy Wilson, Penn is good, but they're playing in a lower competitive conference. And yes, so I would agree with you about this most of the time. If this was football, they don't play in the same even FBS, FCS situation. But I would agree with you if this was a different sport. I find that is less still an issue, but less of an issue in sports like basketball and baseball. It just seems to be that way. That's my opinion. I could be completely off base on that. So just because Penn is a lower competitive conference, but let's be honest, folks, there's no more competitive conference in baseball this year than the SEC. There's a reason that 8 of the 16 seeds are hosts from the SEC. It's just the way it is. So it's not really a fair comparison, but I understand your point. Lower competition as a whole, you would think Auburn beats that, and that's probably the truth, but I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Sold out all 15 SEC home games this season, Auburn did, as well as their allotment of tickets. It's going to be hard to get in the stadium, much less find room around the stadium. So get there early. I will be doing so as well. Your boy also says it depends if we win our regional and Clemson wins theirs, we go there. If we win ours, yeah. So something we talked about there. I'm a little behind in chat, so I'm sure you guys have been talking about some of those things. I've never heard of Penn before. You've never heard of Penn? Are you being funny? Corey, are you serious? Penn University is one of the most prestigious universities, Ivy League school. They've had some good basketball years too. I can't believe you haven't heard of Penn. But I will admit this. I have very low memory of Penn being decent in baseball. You hear a lot of the Princetons and Harvards, I think, maybe Yale, the big ones, but Penn you don't hear a lot of. But from everything that I hear is that this Penn team shouldn't be taken lightly. Thought it was Penn State. Not quite. Not quite. Does Penn State even have a baseball team? A lot of the northern teams don't have them because of, weather, weather reasons. So yes, we are hoping for Clemson to lose. Yeah, you obviously want to face the lowest competition you can to make it easier for yourself to get through anything. But Auburn's got an uphill battle to climb, as it did last year, to continue in every facet of this tournament. All right. So initial thoughts and reactions, keep them coming. Obviously, if you would like to call in, take advantage of that. You don't have to, but it's available. Anybody who wants to call in and talk about this particular topic. Here's what I'd like to do really quick. As I addressed, we're going to be recording tonight, myself and a guest, a special preview and prediction show about this. So we'll get into the nitty gritty there. But I just want to give you some initial information that might be interesting to you about each of these teams. So our first team, let me pull this back up first as a reminder. Auburn versus Penn be the first game. I think it's 6 p.m. Central Time. I think you can watch that one on ESPN Plus. And if I'm not mistaken, the first game of the day, Samford and Southern Miss, will be at 1 p.m. Central Time, I believe. I didn't have that pulled up, but that is the bracket. So let's look at Penn first, very quickly. Again, we're not going to go into great detail here, but just some information. Overall, 32-14 on the year. I'm just briefly scrolling through their schedule just to kind of find they play some teams to compare to. They played South Carolina at South Carolina and was competitive at times, but got swept. Nicholls State, who is in the tournament, they split a pair of games with them. Tulane, who is in the tournament, they beat them. So that's something there to keep in mind. Just kind of scroll really quickly here. Again, you're going to see teams like Brown and Yale and Princeton and Cornell and Columbia and all those type of things. But they had a very impressive year, but at least they played a common opponent in South Carolina. If you remember, Auburn had success against South Carolina where they did not. So that kind of tells you at least what to expect in that type of comparison right there. Just like you, I wouldn't think of a toothpaste company would have a university. Talking about Colgate. But yeah, so there's that. Other teams, Samford. Now, we're not going to see, well, I shouldn't say this. So let's go back to the chart, the bracket, so to speak. Samford versus Southern Miss. So if we kind of just, I know you guys can't see my cursor, but I'm moving my cursor around for my own benefit. Let's just say things go chalk. Auburn beats Penn in game 1. They will play Saturday the winner of Samford and Southern Miss. So if that goes chalk, Southern Miss is the higher team in that particular matchup. Just to give you some perspective, we'll give you a look at both of these teams to kind of expect maybe what happens here. Samford, who we've played, and I believe we lost to once and beat once, if I'm not mistaken. They are 36-23 on the year. They lost the series by 2-3 games to Memphis to start off the year. Common opponent, Southeastern Louisiana. They lost 2 out of the 3 there. So that's an Auburn comparison right there. They played Alabama, lost to them 6-11. So here's the great thing about Samford. If we do end up finding ourselves in a game with them, we have a lot of the similar teams that we played. LSU, UAB. Let's keep going here so I can find some other ones. They played Troy. They played, obviously, us. We lost to them 3-13 on April 18th. We did not end up playing that second game because it got postponed or canceled because of that. But they played teams like Kansas. They've played teams like UAB I've already brought up. But Jacksonville State, they beat Jacksonville State. So Samford is no pushover. I did not want to see them in our regional, to be honest with you. So there's that team. Southern Miss, 41-17 overall. They played Illinois, lost the series to them. Swept Liberty, played Mississippi State, only lost by 1. Mississippi State's not that formidable, but it is what it is. Ole Miss, they lost to them. What else? Southeastern Louisiana, they beat them 8-1. That's a common opponent with Auburn. They were not able to complete a game with Ole Miss. It was a no contest because of weather, I'm sure. They won a series with Troy, beat Southeastern Louisiana again, got walloped by Alabama. What else here? Trying to find some common opponents. Tulane, they beat 11-10, a tournament team. Beat them twice, actually. They played South Alabama and swept them. So there you go. That kind of gives you a perspective of what to expect from them. And I believe they are the Southern Conference or the South, one of their conference champions, if I'm not mistaken. So you guys correct me if I'm wrong there. 41-17. Jeez. Yeah. Pretty successful year for them overall, but Auburn had a very successful year too. So pull this thing back up one more time. What do you guys think? Give me your thoughts about how you think this is going to shake out. This is your reaction show, your opportunity to share your thoughts about things, what you think is going to happen. If it goes chalk, Auburn beating Penn, they move to game 4. Let's just assume it goes chalk all the way around. Southern Miss would move on to face Auburn in what I would expect to be the second game of the second day on Saturday. At least that's what I would think. They would honor the host team if they continued forward with that, which would mean a elimination game versus Samford and Penn. Penn would probably be eliminated from that in my mind if we're going chalk, which means a rematch if Auburn beats Southern Miss. And that's the big question in game 4. Can Auburn beat a Southern Miss team if they both end up there? It's going to be a challenging second game for them, which would set up an elimination game if that happens again with Samford and Southern Miss, and maybe another rematch with Auburn and Samford. So if everything goes the way it should, Auburn should beat Penn, beat Southern Miss, and then play them one more time on Sunday as the last game of the day to beat them and go on to the regional. If it doesn't, if Auburn were to lose, they kind of find themselves in a tough scenario where they've got to win an extra game to win the whole thing out. I think, honestly, if Auburn can get past that first game, which I believe they will, they'll be riding pretty high with the home field advantage that they're going to have, even with a formidable opponent like Southern Miss. And that's really what this amounts to right now. The big question, the big topic, the big conversation is around Auburn versus Southern Miss. who is going to come out of there. And that's what you'd expect. The best seed and the second best seed in each of the regionals, who's going to come out of there. But as happened a lot last year, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the regional play had a lot of chaos. Auburn was not part of that. They had a pretty easy time minus some weather. And hopefully that's the case this time. While I want us to be entertained in Auburn, I want us also to be not so entertained that it gets a little too scary. I don't mind a healthy competition, but if we can get, I think it was like 21-7 in the first game and then like 17-3 in the next, they dominated the teams for the most part that they played in last year's regional. So what do you guys think? This is your reaction show. So if you've got opinions about things that I talked about here, if you've got opinions about how this thing's going to shake out, what you expect, if you're coming to town, things that you're excited to see, I want to hear about them as we start winding down our time here with you today. A couple reminders for you. We can do that while you get some of those questions and comments fired up if you've got any. Reminders that if you aren't, you need to be subscribed. We're having a giveaway when we reach 4,000 subscribers. Very close to that, so help us out if you can. Next scheduled live stream, I don't have a thumbnail for you, but it would be at this point. It's Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time for a call-in show about anything Auburn. It's our Auburn family night where you just can hang out and talk about what you want to discuss. But stay tuned. It's going to be a busy, busy, busy week in Auburn sports news. So you need to stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll have a preview episode, a preview video with a special guest about this regional. You'll get his thoughts on some of the competition that Auburn will see. So stay tuned for that. You could be a channel member. You could be a Booster Club member. Both those things are $1 a month to get you started. The Booster Club has some extra things for different levels if you'd like to do that. But you don't have to take part in that if you don't want to. We'd love for you to if you can and appreciate those that can. But all you have to do is smash the like button, be here, watch a video, drop a comment, or invite a friend to help us grow our little family within the Auburn family. So final thoughts, rounding this out, kind of summarizing our reaction show about this. The Auburn Regional, 13th seed overall, matched up with the 4th seed regional in Clemson, but that is a discussion we can have at a later date. They will see the likes, definitely of Penn, potentially of Southern Miss and Samford, likely going to see Southern Miss, but we'll see how this thing shakes out. Auburn is expected to move on, but we'll have some very challenging opponents in these three teams. But either way, it's already sold out. Stay tuned for tickets, more coming available. If you can't get in the stadium, come to campus. You can watch from the outfield. You can watch from the fence behind there in left field or up in the deck where I will likely be if we don't go in. And I appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me this weekend if you've got the opportunity to, because we're going to have a fun time watching Auburn baseball for the second year in a row host a regional. It is going to be an absolutely fun and amazing time. And we appreciate you being here with us to talk about it and share your thoughts and opinions about Auburn baseball. Until I get to talk to you again, though, War Eagle.